Something broke inside McLaren in Singapore. Andrea Stella didn't shout, he didn't blame anyone, but his words landed like a warning shot. We could lose the trust of our drivers. In Formula 1, that sentence is the equivalent of a red flag waved inside your own garage. It means the team's greatest weapon, unity, has been compromised. If you love F1 without the noise, hit subscribe and let's get into it. Singapore wasn't just another flashpoint. It exposed the fragile balance McLaren had been hiding all season. A car capable of beating Red Bull, but two drivers chasing the same dream. When Norris lunged at turn 7, hitting both Verstappen and Piastri, the collision wasn't just carbon on carbon. It was loyalty cracking under pressure. And when the team chose not to intervene, the silence from the pit wall said more than any radio message could. For Piastri, who sacrificed before for the team's strategy, that silence was betrayal. For Norris, it was validation that aggression still pays. For Stella, it was the moment he realized control had slipped away. On paper, McLaren left Singapore with both cars in the points and another podium for Norris. But the data tells a darker story. Piastri's contact cost him nearly 0.28 seconds per lap in aero loss, enough to erase a potential 18-point swing in the title fight. That single lap 1 clash turned a possible 1-2 finish into an internal audit. McLaren's engineers logged 147 data anomalies from both cars after the impact. But the real instability wasn't aerodynamic, it was emotional. Since the incident, Piastri's in-lap radio time has dropped by 60%. He stopped talking. Norris, meanwhile, has doubled his comms with race control. Two drivers in the same car, but driving two different realities. Inside Woking, Stella has ordered a full technical behavioral review, the first since the 2022 Ricciardo crisis. The goal isn't performance, it's rebuilding trust. Because when telemetry becomes cleaner than communication, a team's success starts to look mechanical, not human. In raw numbers, Piastri still leads Norris by 22 points. But that margin feels paper-thin when the rival in the shadows is Max Verstappen, closing fast and loving every second of McLaren's implosion. Singapore was supposed to extend Oscar's lead. Instead, it turned into Red Bull's lifeline. The equation is brutal. If McLaren dropped just 18 points over the next two races, Verstappen re-enters the fight. One misjudged team order, one unsafe release, and the title momentum shifts forever. Stella knows it. That's why his tone has changed from optimism to damage control. Even the constructor's crown, already secured, feels hollow when your drivers are fighting each other instead of the enemy ahead. Inside the garage, engineers whisper about split setups, Norris demanding a higher front wing angle for overtakes, Piastri asking for balance stability in race trim. It's not just about pace anymore, it's about identity. Because if McLaren can't decide who they're racing for, they might lose to everyone. Behind closed doors, McLaren feels like two teams wearing the same color. Norris still walks through the garage like the heir to Woking, the driver who rebuilt the team's image through the dark years. His friendship with Zach Brown gives him influence few drivers ever have. He knows it, and so does everyone else. Piastri, meanwhile, carries quiet authority. No politics, no PR games, just performance. Since joining in 2023, he's delivered consistency, raw speed, and near-perfect discipline. But even after Singapore, his composure cracked. Sources close to the team describe a cold silence between the drivers since the debrief. No handshake, no shared media time, just parallel campaigns. Andrea Stella is now mediating a rivalry that has evolved beyond strategy calls. It's about trust, hierarchy, and perception. He admits McLaren's let-them-race philosophy has backfired, turning healthy competition into suspicion. Inside the papaya walls, respect is still there, but belief is fading fast. The fallout from Singapore didn't stay inside McLaren's walls. It exploded across two continents. In the UK, tabloids rushed to defend Norris, framing his move as bold racing and portraying Piastri as unexperienced under pressure. The narrative? Lando is Britain's next world champion and McLaren must back him. But in Australia, the reaction was volcanic. Headlines accused McLaren of favoritism. Commentators invoked Mark Webber's Red Bull years, calling it a British repeat of the Vettel era. On talk shows, former drivers urged Oscar to drive for himself now. Even sponsors back home are reportedly asking questions about team balance. Caught in the middle, Andrea Stella finds himself defending transparency while managing perception. Every quote is dissected, every radio silence is amplified. Meanwhile, Verstappen watches the chaos unfold with a grin. Red Bull doesn't need to sabotage McLaren. McLaren is doing it to itself. And through it all, Piastri remains quiet, which, in Formula One politics, speaks louder than any interview. In Formula One, weakness travels faster than speed. The moment Stella admitted McLaren might lose the trust of our drivers, rival teams began moving quietly. Red Bull senior scouts have already inquired about contract clauses. Mercedes engineers were seen chatting with Piastri's manager Mark Webber in Suzuka's paddock tunnel too. And Ferrari, always opportunistic, reportedly views Norris as a long-term replacement if Leclerc decides to explore 2026 options. McLaren's internal fracture has become a market signal, and the paddock is reading it loud and clear. Both Piastri and Norris now hold leverage they've never had before. Each knows McLaren can't afford to lose them, but neither trusts the other side of the garage anymore. Stella's challenge isn't just rebuilding unity, it's preventing a talent exodus. Because once drivers start imagining life elsewhere, team meetings stop being about development and start being about damage control. And in this business, loyalty has a lap time. Andrea Stella knows the crisis isn't just about Singapore, it's systemic. McLaren has built a structure designed to please both drivers but protect neither. Every let them race call creates a new precedent. Every intervention creates resentment. The team's DNA, clarity, fairness, precision, has been replaced by hesitation. The fix begins with consistency. Stella's new directive, leaked from the Woking debrief, is simple. No more case by case. One rulebook, every time. It's the only way to restore belief. The team must accept that tension between teammates isn't a flaw. It's a feature of winning operations. Williams had it with Mansell and Piquet. Mercedes survived it with Rosberg and Hamilton. What matters is control, not calm. McLaren's next step is psychological, not mechanical. Engineers can't tune trust with a laptop. Stella and Zach Brown need to rebuild it face-to-face before perennia becomes permanent. Because if they fail now, this golden era could end before it truly begins. 6 races loved, 1 title within reach, 2 drivers on opposite sides of the same garage. McLaren's constructor's crown already shines in the lobby at Woking, but inside, it feels more like a warning than a trophy. Because what happens next will define whether this team becomes a dynasty or a documentary. Piastri's silence has become his statement. Norris's defiance his shield. Stella stands between them, holding a rulebook that no longer commands belief. Each pit call, each setup tweak now carries political weight. And somewhere in Milton Keynes, Verstappen's smile says it all. He doesn't have to outdrive McLaren. He just has to wait.